Everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. I have some interesting information to share with you. An organization called Engages conducts ongoing focus groups in which they talk with swing voters to determine what they're thinking and feeling. So, for example, they conducted 21 monthly focus groups where they spoke to people who voted for Obama in 2012, but then they switched and voted for Trump in 2016. Well, now they're speaking with voters who swung from Trump in 2016 to Biden in 2020. And the information that they've gathered from these people is pretty fascinating. And it's not a good sign, really, for either party, but especially for MAGA Republicans. And these are groups of a mix. So there are 4 Republicans, 6 Democrats, and 3 independents or no party preference voters. So these aren't just left-leaning people. I've watched all of the videos and I wanted to share with you guys the biggest takeaway and surprise answers. So first, in their regard to their news source, I was surprised to hear how many still watch Fox and how few watch any other major networks or online shows. It was mostly local news that they referenced. And then they were asked about Congress members who are in their late 70s or olders. And almost every single focus group participant said that they want to see younger people in office. There were only a couple of people who really had no opinion about a representative's age. Everyone else felt that it was time for a new perspective and new ideas. And many people in these groups believe that the older reps are just out of touch with what's going on in the country. Next up was the question of abortion. And this is really interesting. They talked about how it might impact their decisions in the midterm. So these answers actually surprised me because I know that a large majority of the country agrees with Roe versus Wade and wants to leave abortion rights as it was, but 100% of the people in this focus group said that they want Roe versus Wade left alone. They do not want to overturn abortion rights. In addition, many of the participants said that if Republicans are successful in stripping women of their right to choose, it will affect their vote in the midterms. Again, not everybody said that, but a large majority of the people in these groups said it. And they said that they would definitely vote for a candidate who wants to retain or restore abortion rights, depending on where we are by that time. Even more significant, though, was that quite a few of these focus members said they don't actually vote in midterm elections, but they absolutely would make it a point to do so if Republicans essentially end abortion rights. So this will bring people out in the midterms if Republicans keep going down this road, and it's not good for them. It's not like it's bringing people out because they're excited and happy about it. And remember, these are all people who voted for Donald Trump in 2016. What did these people think was going to happen when they helped to elect Trump in 2016? He said openly, without equivocation, that if he was elected, he was going to install Supreme Court justices to overturn Roe versus Wade. That's one of the reasons why he got that hypocritical evangelical vote. I seriously don't know what people are thinking. Anyway, in regard to Biden versus Trump, these answers were very interesting, very telling. Although the majority could name more of Biden's failures than his achievements, which is really sad, none of them regret voting for Biden. Not a single person in these focus groups regretted casting a vote for Biden, even though they feel like they've, been let down. On top of that, when they were asked if the election were held again today, would you vote for Biden or would you go back and vote for Trump? 100% of these participants said they'd still vote for Biden. And that includes the people who said, I'm disappointed in Biden's presidency. I feel let down. They just hate Trump that much. And remember, these are people who voted for him in 2016. So the next topic was about representatives who flaunt their guns and threats of violence against other members of Congress. So first, almost every single person in the focus group said that they were turned off when they were shown images of Lauren Boebert, and then there was another representative holding guns. They were shown the Christmas card photos that Boebert posted on Twitter, and this other rep who posted a similar photo, and it was all of their family standing in front of a Christmas tree. And even the children were holding what appeared to be assault rifles. So even the participants who said that they're gun owners, they're hunters, even they said they found it inappropriate, and they said that it seemed like pandering. And they all said that they would not vote for someone if they received a photo like that of their representative or of a representative running for Congress. And many of them cited issues with gun violence. They talked about school shootings. They pointed out how it's just disrespectful, it's distasteful to send out photos like that. And some of them said, it especially because it included children, it makes the children think that it's okay for kids to handle guns, and they found that wrong. The participants were then asked about members of Congress threatening violence against each other or another member of Congress, or sending out photos or videos of them being killed. Obviously, this has to do with that AOC video that Gozar sent around. Every single member of the group, Republicans, independents, all of them, said, if you advocate for violence against another elected representative, you should be removed from Congress, and you should be arrested. And during this segment, one man spoke up, and he was saying that he had been a lifelong conservative, but he's completely done with the Republican Party. He said that at one point in his life, he even had a conservative checklist that he would use to determine if he would date a woman. But now he can't stand what the Republican Party has become. So next up was the topic of the January 6th Select Committee. This is where things take a negative turn for Democrats. The answers are very important. I hope that Democrats are somehow made aware of what I'm about to share with you, because they need to hear this. When they were asked who was on the Select Committee investigating the Capitol attack, not one single person in this focus group could name a single member of that January 6th committee. They all knew about the committee itself, but they're not paying close enough attention to be able to name even one single person. That's horrible. And what that tells me is that this committee is not doing a good enough job of messaging and getting the information out to the masses. I hope that when they start doing the public phase of the investigation in the coming weeks, people will start to pay closer attention, because another thing that was shocking to hear from these participants is that only a handful knew that some people like Mark Meadows had refused to appear before the committee, or they had refused to turn over documents. That's not good, right? You want everyone to know how the other side is obstructing this investigation. Now, the good news is that 100% of these focus group members said that anyone who refuses to comply with Congress should be jailed. And only one of the participants thought the committee was wasting time and money. Everybody else was 100% for it and said, we need to get to the bottom of this. We need to know how the attack happened. Some of the people were saying, we need to, hold the people accountable who went into the Capitol. I don't know that they understand that the committee is not in charge of the investigation into the actual people who attacked the Capitol, the people who are being arrested by the Department of Justice. I don't know that they understand that those are two completely separate investigations, and that's not what they do. Somebody even on this panel thought that Bob Mueller was involved in this. I mean, that's how little these people know about what's going on in this panel. So that's not good. The next topic was how Biden makes them feel, and they were allowed to use one word to describe their feelings. It was a mixed bag, but it was more negative than positive. Most, like I had mentioned, seemed disappointed. They felt underwhelmed. But again, they'd still vote for him over Trump. So that's something that the Republican Party should really take into consideration, especially since these people helped to put Trump in office in 2016. And they're saying, yeah, totally underwhelmed, do not appreciate what he's doing. I don't feel like he's making a difference in my life, but I still wouldn't go back to Trump. So wake up, Republicans. Here's another interesting point, something that both the GOP and the Democrats need to realize. These study participants couldn't name a single MAGA star. They were shown photos of Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert, Paul Gosar, and Madison Cawthorn. They didn't know any of their names. Out of all five, not one person in these focus groups could name one of those Republicans. And what's more, they couldn't say for certain to which party they belonged. And the guy phrased it in a way that just by the process of elimination, you should be able to figure it out. He said up front, all of these five people belong to the same party. Do you know for certain which party they belong to? You would think that that would be a clue that they would know, because what little they did know about these people was not good. For example, in regard to Marjorie Taylor Greene, a couple of them said that they recognized her, but they didn't know her name. They couldn't actually name her. And then they talked about how she's a QAnon follower. One person said that she's the woman who followed the school shooting victim home or something and threatened him or something to that effect. And then others referred to her as a, quote, radical. One woman referred to her as a, quote, whack job. In regard to Gaetz, one participant said that he didn't know Gaetz's name, but he remembered that he's involved in a sex scandal. And then others concurred with this guy. So, yeah, not good. But this tells me that, number one, the Democratic Party isn't doing a good enough job of making these people the poster children for the Republican Party. That's what needs to happen. This is the GQP, the Grand Q Party. That is what they need to be known as. That is what everyone needs to repeat over and over and over again. It needs to be the party of the Matt Gaetzes, of the accused pedophiles, of the, QAnon Jewish space laser freaks like Marjorie Taylor Greene. And then in addition, Democrats need to obviously pass legislation that actually helps everyday Americans. But their other job should be making every single swing voter in the country aware of the names and faces of these vile, lunatic Republican lawmakers and everything that they say and do. The next thing that they were asked was to state one word that best describes their most salient emotion. And it didn't necessarily have to do with politics. And this one was a little confusing because the guy conducting these focus groups, he didn't ask the question the same way of both groups. So you got kind of mixed answers here, but the answers overall were not good. They were mostly negative. They included things like worry, frustrated, stagnant. Those are not good for the current administration. And participants were then asked what their number one issue was. And this is anything that they've seen in the news. Their answers on this also not good. They said China, COVID, radical groups, gun violence, crime, and social unrest. And then they came to a question about green card holders voting. Some of these answers, I have to tell you, really pissed me off. The participants were informed that there's a bill that's been presented in New York, and it would allow legal green card holders to vote in all local elections. So not state elections, not federal elections, just literally their own local elections that affect their lives directly. And these are people, like I said, they're legal green card holders. They're here legally. They pay taxes just like the rest of us. Out of all of the focus group participants, only 5 said that they would be okay with it. Now, here's what bothers me the most. Some of these people who said that they have a problem with it couldn't articulate why. They couldn't explain what their issue was with it. They just kept saying, I just don't like it. I just don't like it. I just don't agree with it. They're just so damn conditioned to hate and fear the other that there's literally no logic involved. It's all purely based on emotion. It's so sickening. And then some of them made the asinine, typical comment about them becoming citizens if they want to vote. And I was so glad because one of the people in one of the groups spoke up and she said, I have friends, I have multiple friends who've been trying to become citizens for years, but the process is so convoluted, it's so cumbersome that they've just been waiting and working through the system for years. And people don't understand that. And they also don't understand it's expensive and it's time consuming. So I'm just so done with selfish people who don't want to share and help others. I wonder how many of them go to church every Sunday and claim to be Christians, but then they don't want to help the stranger. They don't want to feed the hungry. They don't want to give shelter to people who don't have it. It's sickening. And then they complain. They complain about society's downward spiral. Seriously. And remember, a lot of these people admitted that they don't bother to vote in the midterm elections. So they want to refuse voting rights to other tax-paying humans, but they don't bother to take their responsibility seriously. They don't bother to even show up in the midterms for something that they were given by the grace of God by being born in America. And they don't have the wherewithal, they don't have the give a damn to even bother to show up for the midterm elections. I have an idea. How about if you don't show up to vote in the midterm elections, your voting rights will be rescinded. They'll be revoked, and we give them to a green card holder. How about that? Anyway, the last question was, what do you think when corporations complain about increasing taxes on the wealthy? This was a mixed bag, and you could definitely tell which one of these people were the conservatives in the group because they made all fearful comments. Fear that it's going to increase consumer prices, fear that it's going to slow the economy, fear that it would result in fewer jobs. What's funny is that if they would just look at other countries with higher tax rates like Japan and Canada, Australia, the Nordic countries. I mean, I know people in Japan, in Australia, and they have super high taxes. They would realize if they would look at these countries that nothing could be farther from the truth. They have a higher quality of life. Their citizens are well cared for. They're not trying to rip each other apart as we are in America. They're not at each other's throats and completely divided as a people. They don't have the high number of medical bankruptcies that we do in this country. They have better health outcomes because the government actually cares to heal them rather than the for-profit system that we have, which makes money when you are sick. So they want to keep you sick so that they can make more money. And their citizens are just happier overall. So wow, no surprise that gun violence in most of those countries is almost unheard of. Seems like it almost goes hand in hand. So anyway, guys, there you have it. It was a small sampling of swing voters, but Trump appears to be the red line that they're all drawing. And all of these people agreed. Yeah, we may not be happy right now, but Trump is a bridge too far. And again, these are people who helped to put him in office in 2016. So that speaks volumes. Anyway, if I hear any more on this, I will let you know. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care. I'll talk with you soon.